Hello everybody, welcome back to Pixie Roo. Today's makeup video that I'm going to do for you is 10 steps to the perfect foundation, concealer and powder. Now, because our videos, we try to keep them reasonably short so that you don't get bored, a lot of the foundation is cut out. So I am going to talk you in depth 10 steps to get that perfect foundation. I hope you enjoy. Step 1. Firstly, you need to make sure your skin is prepped, and by prepping your skin I mean every so often you may need to exfoliate your skin. This is like just an odd exfoliator that I have. An exfoliator is lots of ground down particles that will take off any dead skin. Now, whether your skin be dry or oily or combination, I still think it's quite important to do this, because if you've got a dry skin and you moisturise your skin and you've got flakes of skin on it, when that moisturiser dries, it's just going to flap the skin back up. You're not actually getting rid of it. So you need to make sure you're exfoliating and keeping those pores clean if you've got an oily skin. So first step would be to exfoliate the skin. You can get light exfoliators that won't do too much. You can get little mitts that will exfoliate the skin. You can do it in the bath. Put that into your regime. It doesn't need to be done very often. So maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, and don't be too vigorous with it. If you find that a product doesn't work for you, get a little mitt and use a mitt lightly over the skin. Stage 2 is to check that your skin is moisturised. Now, if you've got an oily skin or a dry skin, it doesn't matter. You still need to moisturise your skin. Now, oil control moisturiser, you can get lots of different oil control moisturisers and they will just help your foundation go on that little bit better. I have a dry skin, so I will go for something like Embryolisse or Oilatum. With Oilatum, I love it because it's so rich and really helps the skin, but don't put it too close under the eye because it will break down your mascara a little bit. So I'm going to pop this on. Now, some people like to wait until their moisturiser's really sunk into the skin before they apply foundation. I like to go straight in with the foundation. However, if you do have an oily skin, you may want to skip to step 3 and use a primer. You can get so many different primers now. You have got your pore minimising primer, which is great for anyone with oily skin. This will just sit in the pores so that your makeup doesn't and dirt doesn't. So it's actually going to help your skin because you're not getting other stuff in there, but it's also going to hold your foundation in place. It's kind of like the cement between your moisturiser and your foundation. We have the cement to glue it together. If you have dry skin, it's probably going to stick anyway. But there's lots of different ones. You've got a No7 one, you've got Prep and Prime from MAC, Urban Decay, and then we have an Estee Lauder Illuminating one. They also do a mattifying one as well. I'm going to pop some of this one on. I don't normally use a primer, but for the sake of this video I'm going to. You can use a brush or your fingers, it's totally up to you. But what I would say is leave comments on this video about what you use and what you love and what you don't like, because I haven't got the same skin as everyone. My skin's dry, so I can only really say what's great for dry skin. If you've got an oily skin or a combination skin, please help each other out and say what works for you, what you found brilliant, because it helps us too. Step 4 is to choose your foundation. There are so many foundations on the market. It's not something that I can advise you without seeing you. However, what I would say is go in and see someone, speak to someone about it, ask your friends what they've been using and what works for them. There is so many on the market you can go for. You've got your No7, you've got your Bourjois. If you want to go for something a little bit less expensive, you can go for something like Avon Ideal Flawless. That's inexpensive as well and beautiful. And then you can step up to your kind of Bobbi Brown skin foundation, your Illamasqua. I would say speak to people, chat on here, find out what everyone else is using with your skin tone, with your skin type. Obviously, it's important then to go in and speak to someone and get it tried out. When you try your foundation, make sure you leave it on for a little while so that you can check that it doesn't go any darker. So when it goes on the skin, sometimes foundations can oxidize, which means they set darker when they hit the air. So leave it on for a few minutes, wear it around, go outside and look in natural light at what your foundation looks like. Do not buy anything just by testing it on your hand. It's just not going to happen. You're going to end up wasting more money. So do try it, go outside, wear it for a little while. Ask the person who's working on the counter, can you put the foundation all over my skin? I want to wear it for a day. See how it lasts, because, you know, that's your money at the end of the day. I am going to pop on, I think I'm going to use Bobbi Brown Skin Foundation. But before I put it on, I need to go to step 5. Step 5 is choosing the right brush for your foundation. Now, I have my Real Techniques brushes. Okay, we have got, this is a stippling brush. This is going to be used for a slightly lighter foundation, and it's going to work it into the skin and really buff it in so it almost disappears. It's great for any foundations that have light reflecting particles in, because it buffs them in and makes them pop out a little bit more. So this is going to be, you know, for not so much coverage. You can build it by pushing it onto the skin, but you can really buff it in as well so it looks like almost there's nothing there. You have then got a buffing brush, which is pretty much similar. I tend to think it has a bit more coverage than the stippling brush. Same thing, buff it into the skin, makes your skin look completely polished and flawless. Similar again, expert face brush. This can be used for contouring as well, and as foundation. I quite like this one because it fits nicely into the contours of the face. You have then got your normal foundation brushes that you would see. One that's slightly tapered. I tend to say that these will give you a bit more coverage because it's like painting it onto the skin. Then you've got these. If you want that really skin on, hands on finish, then use your hands and you'll get a lovely finish and you can see where you want it. I only don't because I'm so messy and I will put it all over everything that I'm around. So occasionally I'll use my hands. If I'm using a really light foundation, I use my hands. The rest of the time I like to use a brush because I really like that kind of full-on makeup finish. Let's do the foundation. I'm going to use a buffing brush. Now, I tend to start from the area where I get the most redness, so on my cheeks. A lot of people start from the nose and work outwards. I would say the best thing to start from is the place that you have the most imperfections. Then the most product is going in that area. So if you get them on your forehead, start from there. If you get them on the chin, start from there. If you don't have many, start from the nose and work outwards. Now I'm going to take this all the way over my lips, over my eyes. If you get very oily eyelids, I don't, then don't put it over the eyes, use a primer instead. So that you're not going to crease your makeup. Also take it around the neck. Please try and get the right colour for you so you don't get that neckline, because you can put the colour in afterwards. I'm going to do a blusher and bronzer tutorial as well, so tutorial. I can't say that, Sam gets mad at me. I'm going to do a blusher one as well, so you can come back and refer to that as to where to put the colour back in, but it's so much nicer if they match. Step 7. Okay, so step 6 was applying the foundation from the area that needs the most coverage and working outwards. Step 7, we need to go on to concealer. Now people get really confused as to whether concealer comes first or second. There isn't a rule in makeup, so it's up to you. If you're using a powder foundation, then concealer would come first, so you're sealing into place with the powder foundation afterwards. However, I tend to use concealer second because I use a liquid foundation and I want the concealer to cover any areas that still have a bit of redness. So I have a little spot here, which I'm going to conceal second because I can see my foundation hasn't concealed it, and I have a couple in my eyebrows, and there's a few bits where the texture isn't quite right, so then I'm going to choose my concealer. Okay, so choosing the concealer is so daunting and there's so many. How do you get a good one? If you have very bad breakouts or acne or anything like that, then you can use Dermablend. You don't have to use them as a foundation, they can be used as a concealer as well, or you can use them as a foundation. This is going to give you amazing coverage. If you want something a little less expensive, you've got your Bourjois Healthy Mix, and then you've got Collection 2000. This one is Lasting Perfection. They're both really nice. If you have quite a dry skin, then Bobbi Brown Creamy Concealer is beautiful. I find it a little bit too creamy for me, but Sam absolutely loves it. I tend to always stick with the MAC ones purely because they work great for me. I like moisture cover for my redness on my cheeks and under my eyes, and I love a little bit of studio finish for any stubborn blemish that won't go. As with choosing a foundation, when you choose your concealer, please go in and get matched up so that you can make sure that you are choosing the right colour for you. Now, people always say, should I go lighter with my concealer? I would say go spot on with your concealer because you don't want to highlight anything. Especially if it's for blemishes, don't use something that is a highlighting concealer because it's just going to highlight your blemishes. For under the eyes, you can go a tiny bit lighter and through the brow bone if you want. It's totally up to you, but don't highlight anything else. Next is step 8. Okay, I need to choose a brush for my concealer. I personally prefer a synthetic brush because it's easier to wash up and it applies it just as well as a real hair brush. These are my favourite ones. I have got Domed Shadow Brush and Base Shadow Brush and a shadow brush. They're all actually for eyes, but I love them for concealer and they wash up brilliantly. My favourite at the moment is this one, which is the Base Shadow Brush. So I'm going to take my Moisture Cover Concealer under my eyes, around my nose where I get a little bit of redness, and a tiny bit on my chin because I get redness on my chin at the moment. I'm then going to use my brush to pull those products out. So that's actually going to take it over my cheeks and cover them a little bit better without using any more product. So right over the cheeks too. As I said, my skin's dry, so I have to use something that's quite moisturising. If you have an oily skin, actually, this Select Cover Up is really good because it goes on like this, but then it sets very matte on the skin, so it may be slightly better for those of you that have an oily skin. When I worked at MAC, that's what I would always use on someone that had a slightly more oily skin, because it sets. Okay, skin's nearly there. I'm then going to take my Studio Finish Concealer and I'm going to run that through my brows. Just where I have the odd blemish there. Using the same brush, not swapping brushes. Now to conceal a blemish, you're better to push in, so use a long haired brush so you can really push into that blemish and not wipe any makeup away, because you want it to stay put. Okay, step 9 is to choose your powder. Now, you can either go for something like a blot powder. This is colourless and great for people with oily skin because it's not going to sit and change your makeup. You can take it out with you. They both come with a little puff and you push it onto your skin and it's not going to make your foundation look heavier and heavier throughout the day. You can also use something like these ones, which are just pressed powders and they've got colour to them already. So they're going to actually give you a little bit more coverage. So once you apply those, you'll get that little bit more coverage from your makeup. You can also get them in a loose form. This is a Clinique one, so you've got a loose invisible powder. These come in colours as well and you can get them glowing. So depending on what you want. And then if you want a maximum coverage over your foundation, you can then go for MAC Studio Fix or a powder foundation over the top, which is going to give you that perfect finish from your skin and a bit more coverage. I'm going to use Sleek Luminous Pressed Powder. Step 10 is to choose the brush that you want to apply the powder with. You can go for a massive brush if you want, so it's covering the whole face lightly. You can go for something like a multitask brush, which is going to lightly all over the skin. And then I like to have a smaller brush as well, which this is a setting brush for pushing under the eyes so I don't get creasing. So I'm going to use my multitask brush. I tend to push it into the skin so it's not moving the makeup as well. Don't wipe it on, because you're just going to, especially over blemishes, you're going to disrupt what you've just covered. Obviously, you don't have to powder. So if you don't want to powder, don't use one. It's totally up to you. I very rarely powder. Now, if you do find your neck is a slightly different colour, this is when you can bring a little bit of powder down onto the neck. I'm just going to change brushes for under the eyes. So there you have the finished 10 steps to perfect foundation. Now, as I said, do chat to each other in the comments section, help each other out, because I can't answer everything, and to be honest, I wouldn't know everything for every skin type. Also, if you like the video, thumbs up it. I'm going to try and do a couple of other back to basic kind of videos for you, because I know we do sometimes skip those steps in the videos because we don't want to make them too long. So yeah, have a lovely day, guys, whatever you're getting up to. If you've liked this video, do thumbs it up and also subscribe. Love you all, bye.